The year is 2673. The Earth and the Cradle worlds, collectively the birthplace of humanity, have been in the grip of the Scourge for almost 200 years. The Scourge, an extragalactic race of parasitic invaders, appeared without warning, destroying humanity's feeble defenses and ending their civilization outright. Those they didn't kill, they captured and enslaved, forcibly bonding with their hosts to replenish their ranks. Their victory was as swift as it was absolute. Earth lies in ruin, but after 160 years, the tide is turning. The united colonies of mankind have launched a mass reconquest of the Cradle worlds, aided by the underground resistance forces that clung on throughout the occupation. The cyborg post-human republic and the manipulative tribes of the alien Sheltari have their own mysterious objectives, manipulating the war with surgical strikes and subterfuge. The fleets of the factions do battle in the void, but, as has always been the case, it is boots on the ground that win wars. The abandoned cities are the focal points of these battles, with tense infantry firefights in buildings as dropships bring in reinforcements, armoured columns pound each other into dust, and interceptors dogfight above. Welcome to Dropzone Commander. Hello, I'm Alex, and welcome to our Dropzone Commander How to Play series. This is one of our favourite systems on the channel, so we put together this video series as an introduction as to how to play the game. It's intended as a companion piece to the rulebook, which you can buy, but the rules are also available online for free. There'll be a link in the description. We won't cover everything in this video series, so we do recommend reading the rulebook when you get round to it, but this should serve as a basic primer as to how the system works, and at very least, should help you at least understand what's going on in our battle reports. The rest of this video will cover the basics of Dropzone Commander, the 5 factions that are currently in the game, and the rule set that we use on the channel. We hope you find this video series helpful, and if you have any questions, just let us know. If you're new here, Dropzone Commander is a 10mm scale game, so very small. It is set in the relatively near future of the 27th century. It's a combined arms mass war game consisting of a lot of rapid movement. Most things will start off the board and they will fly into the drop zone via drop ship. It uses an alternating activation system, so I activate a group of my units, you activate a group of yours, and we go back and forth until the round is over. So there's a lot of tactical depth as you try to bait out reactions from your opponent, lure them into traps, strike things that haven't yet got to activate, and so on. The small models, a similar scale to Legions Imperialis or other epic scale games, allow for grand scale battles with huge armour columns warring it out while whole platoons of infantry engage each other over objectives. The objectives themselves often need to be found and award victory points for being picked up, but also for being extracted from the battlefield, rewarding planning or punishing the lack of it when your troops evac gets shot down. There is no standing on circles here. The rules also allow for scenery destruction, letting players level buildings with devastating results for those nearby, or worse, those inside them. Dropping a building that contains an objective, denying it to both yourself and your opponent, is a valid tactic. So that's our basic principles. Let's now go through the currently 5 factions available in the game. The united colonies of mankind exist for a single purpose: to take back mankind's lost homes from the Scourge. A collection of diverse and remote frontier worlds, the UCM is a restless cultural melting pot, bubbling with a righteous desire for vengeance. Not weak at anything and having plenty of options to take on anything, the UCM are an ideal army for beginners while still rewarding experienced players. Mistakes are easily forgiven, and you can build a wide variety of list styles, focusing on heavily armoured tank columns, hordes of cheap but specialised infantry, an air force of gunships, or a parking lot of rapid deployment artillery. A well-balanced UCM list has plenty of units, plenty of firepower, and is mobile enough to stop the opponent from controlling the board. The Scourge are foul, neuroparasitic lifeforms who can utterly dominate an unfortunate host, bending its life to their will. They thrive on the conquest and absorption of other races, their very mode of existence as potent a threat as their formidable fleets. They are the galaxy's ultimate predators. Fast and armed to the teeth, Scourge are a good army for beginners and reward high-risk, high-reward aggressive playstyle. Their short range is made up for by their speed and firepower, and while their hover tanks lack the durability of their UCM opponents, their agility helps them close the distance to knife fight range. A classic Scourge list will combine skimmer tanks, fast-moving anti-air that can punish positioning mistakes, and an unending tide of predatory razor worms to chew up and tear apart the enemy infantry. A tiny portion of humanity turned its back on mankind in the waning days of the last Golden Age, leaving the cradle of humanity moments before the Scourge arrived. Over 1.5 centuries later, the post-human republic have emerged from the shadows as an unrecognizable civilization, its people irrevocably changed and enhanced. They are no longer human beings, they have become post-human cyborgs. Often outnumbered, but rarely outgunned, the PHR field a well-armoured, durable, and heavily armed combined arms force. With almost everything in their lineup just that little bit better than their UCM contemporaries, a PHR list will pay points for the superiority, but those points are well spent. A lineup of tough bipedal walkers form the core of most armies, with durable infantry and supporting specialist vehicles fleshing out the force. Even their transports are more heavily armed and armoured than most. The Shaltari are an ancient and highly developed species. Their technology is advanced to a level of sophistication unrivaled by the other factions. They have traversed the stars for millennia, learned myriad truths, and fought countless wars. Through their knowledge, the Shaltari transcend even death itself and can endure indefinitely, perceiving the ebb and flow of time like no other race. The Shaltari are the most technologically advanced race in the galaxy, and it shows. You'll have a wide array of fantastic weapons and energy shields at your disposal, and the teleportation gate network turns how deployment and transportation work on their head. However, every unit is designed for one purpose only, and if you lose focus or end up out of position, you can be quickly overwhelmed. The Resistance is not one single faction, but a collective term for the outcasts, rebels, and guerrilla fighters still living on the worlds ravaged by the Scourge. They rely on old, pre-war technology, but they are inventive to maximize its power. Living in swamps, underground, or in abandoned cities, they have throughout the 2 centuries of enemy occupation never given up. The weakest in technology, with slow but decent armor, the Resistance will often outnumber the enemy. While some of their weapons are crude or unsophisticated, they can still devastate their ideal target, rewarding skillful positioning, ambush tactics, and focus and fire. With guerrilla units ranging from bomb buses and IED-equipped sappers to the humble K9 Technical, little more than a box of dogs in the back of a pickup truck, no 2 Resistance armies are alike. So, at time of recording, we are playing Dropzone Commander 2nd edition, version 2.2.0, off the top of my head. Dropzone Commander rulebook, as we said, is available online for free from dropzonecommander.com or ttcombat.com. We'll have a link to it in the description, but you can also buy a physical copy if you like, which is quite nice to have during your games. You can also find an army builder on dropzonecommander.com, which lets you create a full roster, and it will error check for you, making sure that you have the right number of transports, haven't taken too many of each type of unit, and so on. All that we'll cover in a future video. Finally, we're playing with the, at time of writing, latest version of the FAQ, and we are playing with the experimental rules that TT Combat have put out. This is a regular thing they do every year, or a couple of times each year, and they're just a set of rules that adjust a few things about the game. We find it makes a more enjoyable experience, it makes it a bit more tactical, a little bit slower, so all of our battle reports do use experimental rules, and this video series is also based on that rule set. So that's the top-down view. So in our next video, we're going to go over how battle groups and activations work, and how you build a list for Dropzone Commander. That'll be coming out either very soon or already. There'll be a link to follow it, so stay tuned.